supports our vision and that advances our work. We are in the process of securing a contract, for example, through the County of San Diego to continue to do some COVID outreach, vaccination access. And so we are continuing, and hopefully we'll find additional funding sources that really help us to advance that work in ways that are organic, so that we don't have to change what we do, you know, to meet demands of funders.
Yeah. Another question, can you talk about what you mean by a strength-based framework?
So when, from an academic perspective, there's been such a tendency and long-standing approach to looking at cultures that are not mainstream in the United States, really as a disadvantage. You know, we've had such a long struggle, even with language issues. I'm part of the generation of immigrants who came to this country, and I was actually punished for speaking Spanish at school. You know, I got detention. I got in trouble when teachers heard me speaking Spanish. So for me, that was that first hand experience when, you know, there's just such a tendency to really look at as immigrants as being inferior, right? Like having to change. And so the tendency has been to tell us that we need to only learn English, or that we need to become more mainstream. So what has been great in the academic literature is that there's been such a push in the last 20 years to embrace our culture and our language and those traditions that are so important to us and to our identity. So one of the pioneers kind of in this work is Tara Yoso. And we've embraced this work because it speaks to us, and we think that it's very timely and relevant. So instead of telling our youth that they only need to speak English, we really want to expand what it means to be bicultural, bilingual, and to be really fluid, and be able to adapt, to be able to embrace our cultural identity without feeling that we're having to give anything up. So we are infusing that into all the work that we do. And we just see the difference that it makes out in the community, where we use it as a strength and as a protective factor, as opposed to the disadvantage that it's been portrayed to be.
Okay, we have another question. We have a number of very positive comments, Arcela, that I hope you'll be able to read. Messages from friends, you know, and people thanking you. We have a question. Can you tell us about the classes you teach at Cal State and how students find you?
So I'm no longer at Cal State San Marcos. So that is actually one of the life decisions that I made, is that I decided right before COVID. I did not predict that COVID was coming, but I actually made that decision to dedicate full time to building and nurturing and growing Universidad Popular, or the People's University. And so I'm no longer teaching, but I continue to collaborate with many of our faculty collaborators and professors I've built, 20 plus years of
Oh, yes.
relationships all these years with many colleagues there. But my area of expertise is actually border history. So I'm a historian of 19th century US-Mexico relations. And so for me, the history of immigrants, and particularly being in the border region, I now get to really bring that to life through the work that we do in community education.
Thank you. Another question, what has been the reaction in the Latinx community to the vaccination program? We know that certain groups have been the victims of a lot of miseducation. Have you found that, or what have you found are the barriers, and how do you get over them?
Our experience, and again, because we've been out in the front line, our experience has been somewhat different from what I hear on the news. There is hesitation, there is misinformation, no doubt, in the immigrant Latina community. But what we have seen more than anything that has impacted vaccination rates is actual access. So that's what we've been fighting out there in the community, to ensure that people are able to access it. For a long time, the County of San Diego has done overall an amazing job rolling out the vaccines and making them accessible. But that's broadly speaking. There are groups within the county and even in North County where entire census tracts, entire neighborhoods have much lower vaccination rates. And so again, as a researcher, seeing that data, that's what drove us to go out into the community to take it upon ourselves to ensure that they had access. Farm workers, migrants, limited English speaking communities, folks who are not as connected to technology, to the internet, who are not able to navigate MyTurn, for example, to make appointments. They've been at a real disadvantage in the last year, accessing testing, accessing vaccines. So our advocacy really was in response to that. And that's how we started partnering with community groups to offer pop-ups so that we would have flexible hours. We would be able to offer them and really take the vaccines to people. And that's what, if you're not familiar with the work that CAL FIRE did through Operation Collaboration, they were really an important group taking vaccines out. I can tell you, even right now, I don't see the hesitation in the way that media portrays it. At our events, we've always had hundreds of people showing up, even when they weren't showing up to other county events. But because we're embedded in the community, we are able to reach them, to talk to them, to answer their questions in their own language. We've been able to reach thousands of people that would not have gone to a county building or even Cal State San Marcos to get their vaccines, but they will show up at the Escondido swap meet or at the kids' school at San Marcos Elementary or La Mirada Academy. And so that hesitation is there, but more than anything, it's been really structural kinds of barriers like language and technology and others.
Thank you so much. We have, to conclude, two people who had comments. One is, Marcela, your work is so impactful in the community. So glad to see the smiling faces in your slides. I can feel the emotion of their successful completion. This is a lot of work. Thank you for your dedication. And another person said, so sorry that, your marvelous work resulted in you getting COVID. yourself, and, you know, very best wishes. And obviously from all of us, you know, get over it very successfully. And I have to say personally that I saw the faces of a number of people that I knew and interacted with at Universidad in your slides. And it was just, you know, just a real touch in the heart to see those faces of those wonderful, dynamic people. I remember particularly one older woman that I chatted with a lot just before our census meetings, and who would always tell me about the courses she was taking at the university, and was so proud, just so utterly proud of being, oh yes, I'm a student at the university, and this is the course I'm taking, and this is what I'm learning. Just the pride that you have instilled in your community through those courses is just absolutely wonderful. And our last question was, how can we be good allies? What can AAUW do to support you in the work that you're doing and that Universidad Popular is doing?
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. I think there's great synergy with the mission of the association and the work that we're advancing, particularly around you know, supporting women and promoting the leadership that we think is going to make a difference. We would love to meet up with any of you and share more about the strategies and identify ways that we can partner and collaborate. For us, the more folks that we have, you know, supporting education and civic participation, those are so core to improving all the other areas of life in our community. So we look forward to partnering with you.
Well, and we'd like to partner with you. We want to support particularly minority students with our scholarships that support you know, university and then post-university work. So we will stay in touch with you, because that's where we want to put our scholarship money to supporting as much as possible future Arcelas who will be getting maybe the first diploma in their family, you know, and we would love to think it might be with an AAUW scholarship behind them. Thank you so much, Arcela, for being here.
Thank you.
And now our second speaker, and you're going to see that there's a commonality a little bit to the work that our two leaders do. Morgan Principe, who very kindly stepped in, as we said, with 24-hour notice when Sonia Williams came down with COVID. So ladies, you know, if there was ever any warning for us to, you know, continue to be careful, and those of us who are frustrated with Zoom meetings, that we do need to continue to meet by Zoom and not in person. Morgan is a licensed California attorney and the director of legal operations at Pathways to Citizenship. She first became interested in immigration law as a law student at California Western School of Law. As a law student, she interned with the Department of Homeland Security to better understand the immigration system. Then upon graduation, volunteered with another nonprofit immigration organization